Hello and welcome to part 2 of DDS admission series. I am Apeksha Sangvi from UCLA School of Dentistry and I will be interviewing Rahul Nagda about bench test preparations. He has interviewed at 9 schools and has one of the finest hands in clinical dentistry.
That was little exaggerated, but I will try my best to help you guys out.
So bench test is one of the most critical steps when it comes to DDS admissions. Let's begin with our first question. Rahul, when should we start prepping for our bench exam?
More the practice, better it is. I would recommend after you finish all your applications, start little practicing. You may need 2 to 3 months to practice, and also it depends upon how and like when you graduated from your dental school. If you're a recent graduate, you may not require that much practice, but if you graduated a long time ago and you were in non-clinical field, you may need more practice. So I would say practice as soon as you can. Don't wait for interview calls.
I agree. And what are the commonly asked preps during bench exams?
Usually they ask class 2 preparations on first molars. Usually it's on the mesial side. They also ask gold or metal crown preps on first molars and PFMs on anteriors.
And also a few schools, they can, twist you a little, and they ask sometimes clinical scenarios. For example, if maxillary first molar class 2 prep, what if the cavity, the decay is involving the oblique ridge, or if it's not, how would you make the prep? So at that time you have to use your clinical judgment and do the prep accordingly. Sometimes some schools even provide you with minimum instrumentation. So you have to be able to use just the instruments provided and do your preparation. So be prepared for a little bit of twerking and be fluent with your bench exam preparation.
Absolutely, absolutely.
What should one wear when they are going for an exam?
Yeah, that's a good question, because many times I have seen people coming to bench exams in ties and suits, and that's really uncomfortable. So I would recommend wearing a scrubs. Even usually the interviews and bench tests is on different day, but there are few schools which have it on the same day, but you do have some kind of break where you can change. But I would definitely recommend wear a scrub. At the same time, have your loops and your battery, your light battery charged up. Yeah, that's important.
It goes off in the middle of your prep and you're sweating and you want even more vision. So yes, fully charge your batteries. Maybe even if you charged it from home, just previous night put it on charging. It's no harm to extra charge the battery. It doesn't spoil the battery.
Batteries as well as any instruments, some specific instruments if you like and schools allow you to bring, you should bring that. But most of the time school has everything what you need, but they will usually specify in their requirements.
Yeah. Some schools do not allow you to get instruments, but they do provide you with a list of the instruments that they are going to provide during the exam. So you know beforehand what they're going to provide, and you can compare it with the kind of instruments that you are using for preparations and accordingly make changes. Yes. And some schools provide instruments, but they also let you get your own stuff. For example, UCLA itself. So in that case, you can.
But again, it depends. You cannot say the policies change. So you should always check with the school. And if any doubt, you should email them and contact for any queries.
And with respect to handpieces, a few schools want you to get your handpiece. Make sure you check the holes. It's some
2 holes or 4 holes.
So some schools have their specifications, some countries we use some different ones. So always make sure and double check before you pack your stuff.
And good you brought that point out, because electric handpieces are a little heavier than your regular air motor.
Yes.
So you should get your hand used to in case you're going to that school and they provide you with electric handpieces.
It causes hand fatigue much easily.
Yes.
That's true. Now our next question is the hot social media question. Which bench test preparation should we go to and who is the best?
Well, that's a difficult question to answer, because usually one person has enough provisions to go to just one provider, so there is no comparison. But I would say most of the bench test providers are really good. One of the usually most famous ones are Dr. Duggan and Dr. Stevenson. You cannot go wrong with either. They are great professors and academicians. So it's totally up to you, whichever gives you better overall package for you. If you want to have a you want to practice for long, like 10 to 14 days, or you want 2 or 3 days, just see wherever that availability is there for their course. And sometimes even the other bench test preparation courses are good, they are new, so you can find a bargain with them, or sometimes they can customize it for you.
Yeah.
So that would be another thing. But again, it's not recommended for everyone. If you think you are recently graduated, or you have a good amount of experience behind you, and you know your basics right, you may need some kind of you just need a little bit preparation or polishing here and there. If you have some friend in the school who is able to help you, or you're going to a dental office for a shadowing and that dentist is helping you, you may not need one.
So you basically need someone who can critique your work, because
Yes.
you will find your work to be perfect. You won't be able to remove flaws in your own work, because you're going to try to do your best job. But you need someone who can critique with respect to the US policies, what the schools out here critique, with which aspects. So as far as you have somebody to guide you, I think you should be okay.
Yes, but the most important thing is you should be on the top of your game, because
Yes.
everyone has really good hand skills, and I have seen last year I have seen some preps and they are really top notch.
Yeah. So don't underestimate this exam, this part of the exam, for sure.
Absolutely, yes.
And our last question, what are the do's and don'ts in preparations?
Yes, like there are many common errors that we usually do. I myself have done, and many people, my friends, have corrected me. So let's go through it over paper. Through this video, I will help you recognize major errors we commonly make during class 2 amalgam preparation and crown preparation. So the first major error is adjacent tooth damage. There are two ways to avoid it. Firstly, by using some kind of fender wedge. I personally do not like it, as it hinders my accessibility and many schools may not allow it. Second way is by leaving a thin structure behind and then using your hatchet to remove it. I personally use hatchet for majority of the proximal box preparation. Second common error is inadequate depth of the preparation. You need at least 1.5 millimeters from the shallowest point, and usually the distal area is shallowest. So make sure you measure this area. This is where you make most common mistake. Again, your 330 burr is 1.6 millimeters in length. So make sure it goes in this area, especially in these two areas. This is where we make mistakes. Then another error is either very wide preparation or very narrow preparation. One way to look at is your 330 burr. Its diameter is 0.8 millimeters. So when you put in your 330 burr, make sure it has little wiggling room. Also, if some school provide, use narrowest amalgam condenser and it should be able to walk through the entire cavity. Another error is V-shape extensions. Sometimes you make your extension go this way, and that's wrong. Make sure you have a U-shape extension. When you put in your burr, go 90 degree and in this area just smoothen it off. So that way we conserve the tooth structure. Also, sometimes you see there is little offset in these two grooves. If you do a V, it can come right in front, and that's how you know that it is going wrong. Your axial depth. Now this is where your axial wall is. Make sure this depth is somewhere around 1.2 to 1.5 millimeters. Also, your exit angles. Now the concept of exit angle is very important. It should be 90 degrees exit angle. So your enamel rods run from this way going this. So if you make it little wider, your exit angle becomes little towards the tooth. So make sure you understand this concept. And your clearance should be 0.4 millimeters right from facial and lingual, and your gingival clearance should be 0.5 millimeters. Another error is starting your S curve right into the box. You see the box has to be straight, and then your S curve starts after the box. Few people make mistake. If I show you here, if this is the box preparation, few people make mistake like going this way. This is wrong. Make sure your box is straight and then you merge your curve, your S curve. So these are the common mistakes. And the most important thing in preparation is your preparation should be absolutely smooth. There should be no ditches, no rugged walls. Always use alcohol gauze. If some school allows, you can take your toothbrush and to clean the prep and make your typhoid absolutely clean. That is very, very important before you submit. So hope you understood the major. I'm here not teaching you how to do a class 2, but making sure that you identify where you are making mistakes. And for crown preparation, the first again thing is adjacent tooth damage is no. Make sure you have enough room. Second is J-shaped margin. Now what is J-shaped margin? Now let's say this is your tooth structure and this is your shoulder prep. And sometimes in your mesial or distal area, you leave little enamel over here. And this zone is J-shaped. This is where unsupported enamel is. And this is a critical error. Make sure you use hatchet and you use appropriate burrs to create your margins so that you do not leave any J-shaped margin behind. Second common mistake is over tapered preparation. This is again no. Do not over taper it. Especially be extremely careful when you are working on a molar. This is your molar tooth. This is your buccal, mesial, distal and lingual. This section, distolingual, is most of the times one of the most hardest to reach, and this is where we over taper our preparation. Make sure you are extremely careful in this area. Another thing is no under reduced prep. Know what are the dimensions for PFM preparations or metal preparations or any ceramic preparation. Depth cuts are extremely important. I repeat, depth cuts are extremely important. Make sure you have adequate depth cuts. You should know the dimension of the burr so that you have enough 1 to 1.5 millimeters of depth cuts and another around 0.5 millimeters when you smoothen it. Do that. Don't be a superhero. Another thing is no sharp edges. Let's say this is your anterior tooth. This is the zone where you leave sharp edges. Make sure it's smoothened. So your preparation should not have any sharp edges anywhere. And another thing for PFM shoulder margin preparation, this is, let's say, this is your shoulder. Make sure your margin is slightly sloping. So this way you will not have any J-shaped margin. At the same time, this is what schools expect. So make sure you do that, as well as your margin should be even. Should be even all the way around. You can reduce your handpiece to, let's say, 6,000 or 10,000 RPM and then smooth all around the tooth. This will help in smoothing your teeth as well as giving some nice smooth margins. Also, make sure it is supragingival, slightly supragingival and evenly distributed. That is very essential. And more, I think I covered most of the major mistakes. I'm not giving you all the errors. My intention is just to make sure you identify everything, even with functional cusp bevel. So let's say this is your lingual cusp slope, buccal cusp slope, and this is your functional cusp. And this is how your preparation is. Make sure your functional cusp bevel is good and visible. Heavy functional cusp bevel is usually essential. So make sure you do that, and again, round off. Nothing sharp anywhere. And more about it, just keep practicing and also take good rest. And I hope you like this video. If you have any other queries, comment below and I'll make sure I'll answer that, and wish you all the best. DDS is close. Good luck.